Hi, Miss Irala. Well, Liliana Narvaez and I, Jennifer Sanchez, heard that you have some troubles regarding punctuation, so we decided to make a video for you to understand how they work because punctuation is really important. It shows us how to structure sentences and how each sentence should be read.
Let's start with capital letters. We are going to learn when do we need to use them. First of all, as the first letter of a proper noun, name of people or place, and also as the first word of a sentence. This is really important and you should always keep it in mind. To talk about nationalities and languages, the main words in titles, and at the beginning of a quote if it is a full sentence. For example, Albert Einstein once said, "Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving." Having said that, I want you to look at this. I brought you a poster with an acrostic to make it easier for you to remember when to use capital letters. Full stops are used at the end of a sentence. It can also indicate an abbreviation. They are always followed by a capital letter at the beginning of the next sentence. Let's look at this example. They are my neighbors. As you can see, here the full stop is at the end of the sentence. Here is another one. Anna and Luisa went shopping yesterday. They bought new shoes. Here we have the full stop to mark the end of the first sentence and then a capital letter at the beginning of the next sentence. And don't forget the full stop at the end of the sentence. Commas clarify the meaning and make the sentence easier to read. They are used in 5 main ways. First of all, to separate two independent clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction. The second one, to separate an introductory word, phrase, or clause from the rest of the sentence. The third one, to separate extra or non-essential information from the rest of the sentence. Fourth, to separate a final phrase from the rest of the sentence. For example, pollution threatens biodiversity, particularly in aquatic areas. And finally, to separate items in a series. For example, books, pens, calculators, and papers were piled on the table. Semicolons. They are used in 2 ways. You can use a semicolon to link two independent clauses. For example, riding a bicycle is an excellent exercise. I ride mine every day. Here the semicolon highlights the fact that there is a close relationship between these two sentences. The second one is to separate sections of a list. You can use semicolons as the separators of your list items. Let's look at this list. This list will be written like this: Sofia, the student, Fernanda, the lawyer, and Juliana, the nurse. Columns. A column is used to introduce material which explains or adds detail. There are 3 common situations in which you can use a column. First of all, to introduce an explanation, clarification, or extra detail. For example, most of the world's biodiversity is located in the tropics. Some 40 to 90% of the world's species live in tropical forests. The second one is to introduce a list of series, and the third one to introduce a quote of 1 sentence or longer.
Apostrophes. There are 2 main uses when it comes to apostrophes. The first one is to indicate possession. For example, Mike's car is blue. In this sentence, the apostrophe is used to indicate that the blue car belongs to Mike. Mary's house is big. The apostrophe here shows that Mary owns the house.
When using an apostrophe to indicate possession, the rules are a little bit different in plural and singular nouns. In plural nouns, we just had to add the apostrophe without adding the s if the plural noun already ends in s. For example, here. We are here to cheer up the kids' performance. As the word kids is a plural noun ending in s, we just had to add the apostrophe and that's all.
The second use of an apostrophe is to form a contraction. So we combine 2 words into one to shorten what we want to say. The letter or letters that are omitted are also replaced by the apostrophe. However, this is informal English, so it is not recommended to be used in academic texts.
For example, she can't go out. Can't is the shorter way to say cannot. He's my dad. His is the shorter way to say he is. And finally, I'd like a cup of coffee. I'd is the shorter way to say I would. Now let's talk about quotation marks. The primary function of quotation marks is to represent exact language, either written or spoken, that has come from somebody else. This can be used in three different ways.
To identify direct quotes. Direct quotations involve incorporating another person's exact words into your own writing.
For example, I hope you will be here, Peter said. Anna asked, will you still be my friend? In both cases, what is in quotation marks refers to the exact words Peter and Anna said. We are not changing the verb, the subject, the pronoun, anything.
Another use of quotation marks is to highlight unusual words, unusual or sarcastic uses of a word, or to distinguish words in a sentence, as in the following examples. It is an oil extraction method known as fracking. They are just a few rotten apples. Non-native English speakers often use notice and realize in the same way.
And the third use is to indicate titles. For example, I love Harry Potter movies. Here I am talking about the movie title. I can talk about titles from books, essays, reviews, etc.
Parentheses. Parentheses are used to add extra information not essential to the meaning or structure of the sentence. You can also use it to add a fact such as names or numbers.
For example, she has traveled to many countries in South America: Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, and Venezuela. And the second one, Colombia's president, Ivan Duque, is doing everything wrong.
Dashes. Dashes are perhaps the most versatile punctuation marks. Depending on the context, they can take the place of commas, parentheses, or colons, but they are usually used to make a strong emphasis.
For example, everything I saw in the movie, from the graceful trees to the brick buildings, reminded me of my hometown. I paid the bills, she has all the fun.
Brackets. They are mainly used to enclose words added by someone other than the original writer or speaker, typically in order to clarify the situation. By using brackets, we want to make it clear that the modification has been made by us.
For example, the witness said, he, the police officer, hit me. He, the policeman, can prove his innocence.